set, go! Welcome to the 2022 Orchestra Games. Instruments from all around the world have come together to play for you. And today we're going to find out who can play the highest, who can play the lowest, the loudest, the softest, the fastest, the slowest. But before the games begin, let's meet the players. First, the woodwinds. Hello, woodwinds! First up for the woodwinds, we have the piccolo. Next, the flute. Next up, the oboe. Followed by the clarinet. And finally, the bassoon. Now tell me, woodwinds, how did you all prepare for today's games? I love it when they all talk at the same time. Let me see if I can sort that out. Did you practice high notes? You did. How about low notes? All right, did you practice fast notes? And slow notes? Did anyone practice trills? You know what? Tell me, what else did you practice? Well, then you must be very well prepared. Good luck in today's games. Now, let's meet the brass section. Hello, brass! Playing for the brass, we have the trumpet. Now, the next instrument isn't actually French, but just loves their name, the French horn. Unfortunately, the next instrument isn't feeling so well, but I'm sure they'll try their best, the trombone. Oh, bless you. You're welcome. And now, last and lowest, but certainly not least, the mighty tuba. Now, brass, you all have a reputation for being kind of a loud bunch. Tell me, is there any truth to this? I think I have my answer. Now, I understand that you all have a device called a mute that helps you play softer. Can you tell us or show us what this sounds like? Well, that is softer. Hey, maybe you can just leave those mutes in for a while, and that way, if things get... Okay, too late. Now, surrounding me, we have the largest team in today's games, the strings. Hello, strings! Now, the strings are a very versatile team of players. They can play really fast. They can play very softly. And when there are enough of them, they can play downright loud. But what I like best about the strings is how expressively they can play. So here they are. Up first for the strings, the violins. Now right next to the violins, we have the violas. The violas don't play quite as high as the violins, but they do play lower and have a deep, rich tone. Now up next, those instruments that look like they're stuck to the floor with their little pole vaults, those are the cellos. And finally, way in the back over here, we have the double basses. Did you ever notice how the strings all move their bows in the same direction at the same time? Watch and listen to this. How do they do that? You know, let's ask them. Strings, how do you all make your bows go and move in the same direction at the same time? Hold on. You do all realize that you bow together, right? Wow. Do you all do everything together? I think I have my answer. Moving on. We've met the players, now let's meet the judges. Hello, percussion! We are listening to our first judge right now. On timpani, judge number 1. On xylophone and bells, judge number 2. On harp, and you know what, not really a percussion instrument, but a fine judge nonetheless, judge number 3. And playing all sorts of drums and noisemakers, judge number 4 is asleep. Orchestra, let's wake them up. Now, let's meet one last group. Without them, the orchestra games just couldn't happen. I'm talking about the crowd, the cheering fans, and you all know who you are. So when I say the crowd goes wild, you all cheer like crazy, okay? Let's try it. And the crowd goes wild. That's good. That's extremely good. But you know what? Practice makes perfect. So let's try it one more time, and if possible, be even wilder. And the crowd goes wild! Marvelous. So we have the players. We have the woodwinds. We have the brass, the strings, we have our illustrious panel of judges, and most importantly, we have the crowd that goes wild. Let the games begin! The first event to get underway is the marathon. A marathon is a long race. The winner is the player who crosses the finish line first. And where is that finish line? Well, it's at the end of the race. So let's meet today's marathoners. playing for the strings and capable of playing fast notes without resting, the violin. Playing for the brass and using a special slide technique, the trombone. And playing for the woodwinds and keeping it smooth and steady, the clarinet. Players ready? On your mark, get set, go! We'll check in with them later. As they head off, let's go over to the glissando competition. We hear a glissando when instruments slide between notes. They can slide up, and they can slide down. In this event, we find out which team of instruments can play the best glissando. So keep in mind, it's the brass against the woodwinds against the strings. Judges ready? On your mark, get set, gliss. And the winner is the strings. Now that's a glissando. This is a soft note. This is a loud note. Any questions? In this next event, we find out who can play the loudest and who can play the softest. So let's listen carefully. Judges, start them off. So we just heard the woodwinds playing softly, followed by the brass playing full out. Let's see what happens next. Judges. All right, so this time we heard the strings playing very softly, followed by the brass once again playing incredibly loud. But don't be fooled, because the brass can play softly too, especially if they're muted. Let's see if I can quiet them down. Softer? Even less? Now keep it right there. Now as the brass continue playing softly, let's see how loud the woodwinds and strings can play. Now, one last chance for everyone to play softly. Woodwinds first. Strings. Brass. One last chance for all the loud notes. The brass team is our obvious loud note winner, but judges, who is the soft note winner? The woodwinds. And the crowd quietly goes wild. Yeah, good, good, good. Oh, now it's time for the event we call the Low Note Limbo. In this event, we find out who can play the lowest. Playing for the brass, the tuba. Playing for the woodwinds, the bassoon. And playing for the strings, of course, the double basses. Now, listen carefully to see how low they can go. Ready, set, limbo. Bassoons, you're out of low notes, aren't you? So that means it's between the tuba and the double basses. Tuba, that is really low, but can the double basses go even lower? And the winner of the Low Note Limbo is the double basses. And the crowd goes wild. Now it's time for the shortest event in the orchestra games, the short note event. On your mark, get set, go. And the winner is... It's a three-way tie. They can all play short notes. So moving on to the long note competition. In this event, the oboe, the French horn, and one of the cellos all play a note and hold it for as long as they can. Judges, ready with the stopwatch. On your mark, get set, go! They're still playing. They're still playing. Oh, looks like the French horn is starting to run out of air. And the cello has switched to this back and forth tremolo bowing. Judges, is that allowed? I'm sorry, cello, it's not. Oh, which means that the winner of the long note competition is still playing. It's the oboe, and the crowd goes wild. The marathon is back, and it looks like the violin is in the lead. It sounds like the violin is stuck. Orchestra, help them out. Oh, here comes the trombone running a close second. Still has that nasty cold. Well, as they continue, let's move on to the next event. the next event, we're going to find out... Well, there's the clarinet. Well, the violin and the trombone, they went that way. You're welcome, but you better hurry. As I was saying, the next event is the fast note dash. In this event, we see how fast the instruments can play. Strings first. Start them off, judges. Brass, you have to wait your turn. Up next, the woodwinds. Woodwinds, are you ready? All right, judges. Brass, if you play out of turn one more time, you will be disqualified. Yes, okay. Brass, now it's your turn. Judges? Anytime you're ready, Brass. And the winner is... Are you quite finished? You know, even though the brass can sometimes get a little out of hand, for the most part, the orchestra games are played in a friendly way. But what if things weren't so friendly? What if it was instrument against instrument? Note against note. And what if even the judges were nasty? And what if instead of cheering, the crowd booed? If all of these things were true, the orchestra games might sound something like this. And the crowd booed. Oh, come on, it wasn't really that bad, was it? Now, a little earlier, we found out who could play the lowest. Now let's see who can play the highest. Playing for the woodwinds and able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, the piccolo. The high note specialist for the strings, the violin. playing for the brass a secret weapon that is smaller and plays higher than a normal trumpet, the piccolo trumpet. All right, here we go. Keep it nice and happy. Is that happy? The winner and friend to dogs everywhere, the piccolo, and the crowd goes wild. Now, with the marathon in the final stretch and no clarinet in sight, it appears the trombone has caught up with the violin. As they race toward the finish line, the strings have come out to cheer on their teammate. The brass, well, they of course root for the trombone. And sadly, the woodwinds have little to cheer about at all. The judges are taking their position at the finish line. And here they come. Oh, wouldn't this be a terrible time for the trombone to sneeze? Blew the violin right into the judges. With our violin and trombone down, I guess our marathon won't have a finish. Or will it? It looks like the clarinet will be our winner. Well, now wait a minute. Why are they stopping? Oh, they said that they don't think that the race should be won or lost because of an accident. So they're inviting the violin and the trombone to finish the race together. As they race toward the finish line, the orchestra goes wild. So that's it for the games, and if you're wondering what the final score is, judges, they don't know. I don't know either. I don't really keep score. I know that certain instruments do things better than others, but for me, the real magic happens when they all play together. So when it comes down to it, the winners here today are all of you and me, because we get to hear the woodwinds, and we get to hear the strings, and you can't help but hear that brass. And when the percussion joins in, and they all play together, you've got yourself an orchestra. Maybe one day, some of you out there will be playing in the orchestra. Maybe you'll play the violin, or the flute, or any of the instruments. To me, it won't matter which one. I just hope I see you there. I really do. So until the next games, keep the torch lit. And thanks for listening.